What up, nation? Welcome to another edition of the WiseTake NBA Wise Stream, CK013. Here, you can find me on Twitter at CK_013. And I, of course, am from the WiseTake Nation, which you can find on the social media platforms listed above or directly at WiseTake.com if you're looking to take your game to the next level and get access to our projections, articles, cheat sheets, everything else. We are a premium DFS content provider as well as a DFS community designed to help make you a better DFS player. If you're new to the channel, welcome. Please subscribe and notifications bell so you're notified whenever we do go live. Monday through Friday, we do the shows on YouTube for NBA. Try to do 2 shows a day, early look and a Wise Stream. The Wise Stream, of course, our flagship show, which is this one here. You'll spend an hour with me first going game by game, reviewing our projections, and then we'll bring Paulie on. Sometimes we bring on some guests as well, and talk some game theory, answer some questions if possible, and most importantly, keep you guys updated with the news to make sure you're up to date as much as possible going up into lock. So welcome if you are new. Other thing, likes go a long way. The likes really help us out, so please hit that like button, guys. I love when I come in here and I already see a few of you doing it because you know I'm going to ask, and I appreciate it. It really does help us out, and it allows us to continue to do the free content. So we like to do the free content, but in order to do it, we need the likes. We need to push this thing and get us out to the public. So we appreciate you, but again, I'm going to ask for those likes. We've got a pretty decent sized slate. There was 8 games. I always forget 7 or 8, but I think it's 8 today. It's interesting, very interesting. The projected chalk is interesting to say the least, and everything else. So I am with. It's ironically, I mean, the chalk is chalk for a reason. Obviously, there's some injuries that we know about. There's some that we're waiting to hear more of. Obviously, the projected ownerships could change throughout the day depending on what news does break. So we'll have to hang tight, see what kind of falls in leading up to lock, and make adjustments accordingly. In NBA, we always say NBA DFS is all about reaction. How do you react to news? That is definitely one of the more defined skills, I guess, in terms of like DFS being a skill game. And NBA reaction is a big part of that. So be ready to react. We'll be riding with you up until... if you got questions, pop them in the chat, and I'm going to go in and out and try to answer them as much as I can. And we'll attempt to answer them on the second show. Of course, on the second show, we have our own teams to build. We're on here with you. So we'll do what we do. We'll get through it. And once again, another journey, another day is another journey for DFS dominance. And we are going to look to dominate the game tonight as well. Starting with the Spurs visiting the the Hornets is our first game. The only game that locks at 7 on DraftKings. Obviously on Fanduel they all lock at 7, but we've got a 211 total. It's actually down 3 points. The Spurs opened up -3. They're up to -4.5 at this point. In terms of the schedule, we discussed it before, but for those of you who didn't see it, the Spurs are on the back end of a back-to-back in the midst of a 3-4. Charlotte has had a day off. Starting with the Spurs side of it, Trey Lyles should be pretty popular. He's projecting to be the highest owned, depending on what ownership projections you were looking at. But he's expected to be the highest owned, and for good reason. Trey Lyles has played 37 minutes against the Pacers last night, 40 minutes against Orlando. It's just hard to imagine him not getting at least 34, and possibly, really at least 36. So we got him projected for around 36, and he still projects to close to 6x on DraftKings. On FanDuel, it's not as high. Curious to see what that looks like. Matter of fact, we can actually take a look at that. Curious myself to see what comes in. Lyle's still projecting to be pretty chalky over there as well, which is tough for me because I think over there we have a lot of really cheap power forwards, but I understand it. This is a guy, minutes is the key in NBA DFS, and he's projected to get a lot of minutes, so I think it does make a lot of sense. DeMar DeRozan is projected to be pretty popular. As of right now, I'm coming in a little bit underweight on him. I think I am going to make some changes to that, though, just to try to get a little closer to the field. So we'll make some adjustments to his minutes as well. The minutes you see on the screen are rounded, so in reality, I do a lot of, it'll be 29.5 and show up as 30, 29.75 show up as 30, so the minutes you see are just kind of rounded just to make things a little bit easier. But when I raise DeRozan to 36.5, his projection goes up on DraftKings to 41.92. On FanDuel, still kind of far away, but on DraftKings, he's getting there. Maybe we have to make one more minor adjustment with a quarter point to see where that gets us. Again, it's not that I love DeRozan necessarily, but I think that Obviously we anticipate his usage going up with no LMA. We haven't seen that. We haven't seen the usage go up as much as we'd think, but obviously in the past, over a larger sample size, that is something that we did see. So I expect at some point to see that. Maybe when his team is on the back end of a back-to-back and a 3 and 4, he steps it up. Rudy Gay, an interesting value play. He started off slow yesterday, but he eventually did get there. The issue, of course, is there is going to be somewhat of a cap on his minutes. I don't see him playing more than 28. Again, situation could be different today, especially if they find they don't really need a center going up against Charlotte. There's speculation. We'll have to wait and see. Drew Eubanks got 16 minutes again, and that was a situation where they had two bigs that they were playing against. So I'm not sure how much of the game plan he's really a part of. And DeJounte Murray, I think, is interesting. Let's see how many minutes he got last night. DeJounte Murray got only 25 minutes. Oh, he had foul trouble. He got into some foul trouble. I do like DeJounte Murray, though. I do like him. I don't necessarily, he's not my favorite player on the slate by any means, but maybe we give him a little bit of boost because that price is pretty attractive for the upside that he does carry. So I gave him half a minute. Let's see what happens there. Goes up to around 5.69, almost 7x. I'm sorry, almost 5.7x. So that may be enough to get him where we need him to be. We'll have to wait and see when we actually run the teams later and see what we end up with. But again, these projections are available for download if you're a WiseTake Nation member at wisetake.com. They don't look like this. This is the visual that I built for you guys to follow along with me. But if you want the actual numbers to upload into an optimizer and have a little WiseTake Nation flavor on your lineups, they are available with a day pass. Anything that gets you access to an NBA DFS access. Anything that gets you access to the NBA DFS package or whatever content. It's been a long day. It's been a long day. Not a lot of sleep. Looking at the Charlotte side, Terry Rozier figures to be one of the most popular plays on the slate. Him and Lyles both in this first game are going to be the most popular players from the game, I believe. We know that Devontae Graham is out. We know Malik Monk is out. And so that kind of leaves Rozier as the main guard. We've seen him in situations like this in the past with Boston when players were out and he would have massive upside. Haven't exactly seen that from him this year, but even when we were looking at the numbers earlier with Graham and Monk off the court, Rozier did show a usage increase, and his fantasy points per minute was a little bit above 1. So assuming he does play 34, 35, 36 minutes, it should be pretty close to a point where he's able to give us a 6x return, I would think. Miles Bridges is probably my next favorite play from this team. I anticipate his usage to go up. I think his minutes will be there. He's been a lot more aggressive. Like a little bit before the All-Star break, he kind of started it. And it looks like he's kind of kept with that throughout. So I do like Miles Bridges as well. The other guys are just kind of long shot value if you need it. I was looking at a more balanced build when I was going through things today. We have some value with Golden State. Maybe some with Philly, but in general, I was getting a lot of balanced builds, and I think that's probably around the area that I'll be today. So we'll have to wait and see. Bismack Biyombo is interesting. He's been playing over Zeller for whatever reason, and they could go smaller, being that neither team has a true center that they feel comfortable with. They could go smaller, just play PJ at the 5. That's what I anticipate we see a lot. He can match up with Lyles, no problem. So a wait and see approach, but that's kind of where I'm at. With that said, it is the first game, and it's got the lowest total on the board by far. So it's not a situation where I want to get carried away with too many players from this game when we have so many other good games on the slate. With that said, let's move on to the Brooklyn Nets visiting the Boston Celtics. We have a 219 total down from 221.5. The Celtics opened up -8. They're down to -6 at home. Obviously, we heard that Kemba Walker is back, but he's going to be on some sort of minutes limit, though they haven't speculated what that is. And we know Jason Tatum is doubtful. We'll get to them in a second. As far as the schedule goes, both teams have had 2 days off. However, both teams do play tomorrow, so this game does get ugly. Don't be surprised to see one or both of these teams bail. But I do think this game has the potential to stay close. Brooklyn should be a playoff team, I believe, even without Kyrie. It'd be nice if Kyrie was playing and got a chance to play against him, but, that's just an if. Obviously, it's not in the cards. Starting with the Brooklyn side, LeVert and Dinwiddie I do like. I think I like Dinwiddie just a drop more. We've seen those specific types of guards, and Dinwiddie actually has had some pretty big games against this team. They do have some good defenders in Jaylen Brown and Marcus Smart, but as long as guys can shoot, they typically end up getting there against these guys. So I'm cool with LeVert. It's not that I don't like LeVert. I just think that Dinwiddie, matchup-wise, is a little more attractive in my eyes. So I just made some adjustments just to kind of reflect and make sure that Dinwiddie's projecting a little bit higher because I want a little bit more of him. Taurean Prince is really cheap on Fanduel. I'm interested in him there. On DraftKings, I think you could take a shot on Jared. I mean, really on both sides, you can take a shot on Jared Allen. The problem, of course, is his minutes have been very inconsistent, which makes Brooklyn in general, outside of LeVert and Dinwiddie right now, a little tougher to project. We've seen the minute inconsistencies on a lot of different players. But certainly a game stackable candidate. I think for Brooklyn anyway, it should be a playoff type atmosphere. I'm not sure how seriously Boston takes them, but again, Boston missing Jason Tatum, who's been one of the best players in the league lately, hottest players in the league. Oh, it could be a big blow. With Tatum's absence, I think that Gordon Hayward and Jaylen Brown, we know that their minutes are not capped. I expect them both to play a ton of minutes today against Brooklyn. A very soft matchup. On FanDuel, the whole Boston team looks a lot better. On DraftKings, it's really Hayward and Brown, and they don't even look that great. Jaylen Brown was the one that I was getting a substantial ownership of. I kept raising Gordon Hayward's minutes, and I was still having a hard time reaching them. But on FanDuel, they're both, I think, in really good spots. And on DraftKings, like I said, Jaylen Brown was the one I was getting more of. But I do like him. We expect the usage increase. We went over that on the earlier show. The usage increase should certainly be there for both. I think they'll both play big minutes as long as this game's competitive. So I'm into it. Kemba Walker is very, very cheap on FanDuel. Cheap on DraftKings as well. They said he's going to be on some sort of limitation without Tatum on the court. We know Kemba is averaging like 1.3 fantasy points per minute, and his usage rate is phenomenal. However, we have no idea how many minutes he's actually going to get. So I put 30 on there because the matchup is soft, and when he is on the court, I expect his usage to be high. But again, we aren't sure what his minute limitation looks like, and I think there will be ones, being as how they play tomorrow, unless their plan is to rest Kemba tomorrow when Tatum comes back. So we'll have to wait and see how they handle that situation. But for the time being, the way things are, I do like Jaylen Brown the most. And I'm trying to find ways to get Hayward in. Obviously, it's a lot easier on FanDuel. On DraftKings, it'd be a little tough. And I don't mind Daniel Tice, especially with Tatum out. He didn't really show a usage increase, but perhaps he gets more rebounds. Maybe he gets more minutes. So I think he's kind of interesting also. Let's see. Let me pop into this chat real quick and say what's up to my people real quick. There we go. G-Rock 007. I think you said that before. Where you at, brother? Inquiring minds want to know. I feel you, man. I appreciate you guys. Kyle, what's up, man? What's up? GQ Rock 007. Got to choose one from the Celtics. Hayward or Brown? I like Brown also. I see Charles Walker in there saying Brown. I like Brown also. I mean, I like them both, but realistically, on FanDuel, I would literally play them both a good amount. On DraftKings, I would pick one, and it would probably be Jaylen Brown. Kyle says, NED Russell. We'll get to that game. I think he's interesting. I'll have some for sure. How much? That's the question. I guess it depends on where the slate takes us and what other value may open up. Appreciate those of you who are joining us. If you haven't hit that like button, please make sure to hit that like. I see you, Matt. I appreciate you, Matt. Matt in the YouTube chat saying, hit that like. You knew it was coming, didn't you, Matt? Matt knew it was coming, man. He definitely did. All right, let's keep things rolling with our next game. The Minnesota Timberwolves. We're getting right into D-Lo. How about that? Minnesota Timberwolves visiting the New Orleans Pelicans. We have a 246 total. It's actually down 1.5 points from 247.5. Still very high. Pelicans are favored by 11.5 points. Minnesota's obviously been terrible, and New Orleans has played well in general. Both teams have had a day off. Both these teams also play tomorrow, so another thing to keep in mind. This does have a projected blowout spread, so just kind of keep that in mind. With that said, it's got the highest total on the board, so I do think we're going to see some ownership here. Naz Reid projected well for us against New Orleans. It's a great matchup, well, at least when Favors is off the court. If Naz Reid can stay out of foul trouble, then I would think he gets more to the 26, 27, 28 minutes that we always hope for, and he's got a high point per minute average. This is a good situation where he could rack up some points. What I'm concerned about is if there's situations, I believe there will be situations where he's matched up with Zion Williamson. Naz Reid has had an issue with foul trouble. Zion's just not a guy that I really want him covering, but I will acknowledge that his point per minute average, like his actual projection, looks pretty solid, especially in a situation where we have a game that should be crazy fast paced. James Johnson, I don't mind setting a rule. If you think Naz Reid does get into foul trouble, maybe we see James Johnson play more minutes, and he could really excel in a matchup like this as well. Going back to D'Lo, D'Lo's been playing some big minutes these last two games. I know the performances haven't been there, but the minutes certainly have. So I'm definitely interested in him. On FanDuel, a little easier. at 8.5, 9K on DraftKings, but remember he gets extra points for 3-pointers, doesn't get penalized as much for turnovers. So, yeah, it's not a situation where I think I want like 30, 40% D-low, but I'd like to get anywhere from 10 to 20. I'd be content with that, depending on how he ranks relative to the slate and the people around him. Juan Hernan-Gomez on DraftKings, the price it's a little pricey. Again, this is a really good matchup for both sides in terms of pace, expected opportunity, but it's always a little bit tougher to get to the Minnesota side. Malik Beasley, he was playing monster minutes to start, but lately the minutes haven't been there as much. Just to give you guys an idea of what we're talking about. So against Dallas, he had 30 minutes, 34 against Orlando, 33 against Miami. But when he first got here, he was playing 36, 38. He was playing just real big minutes. So that's a little bit of a concern that the minutes have come down. But the usage just stayed consistent. He's still taking double-digit shot attempts. And I really don't mind Beasley. As a matter of fact, I think I will raise him a little bit. Kind of just to make sure that we're getting what we need. I'll raise him up to 36 minutes. That should help us. On FanDuel, we're already close. It was really DraftKings that we needed that boost, and it gave him a little bit of a boost. We'll see if it starts working him into our teams. But again, while this is a great game, the prices that these guys have come up, making it a little more difficult to just plug and play, like we were doing when they first formed this team, because it's basically a brand new team at this point. On the New Orleans side, Derek Favors has played well. The minutes remain low, but this is a phenomenal matchup. Minnesota has been one of the worst teams against bigs ever since Cats have gone out. So I think while Favors is on the court, he should have some success, and it makes me like Zion Williamson a lot. He already projects well. His price has come down on DraftKings. He's expected to be pretty popular today, and for good reason. I think the New Orleans side obviously a little bit more attractive, especially when you consider the blowout. I prefer to be on the side of the team doing the blowing, as I like to say, because if they blow them out, then obviously they were playing efficiently enough to where guys should be putting up some fantasy points, even in limited minutes. Brandon Ingram would be next for me after Zion. Again, soft matchup, good pace. I expect him to take a lot of shots. Drew Holiday's in the conversation, but similarly to what we said about Minnesota, the prices of these guys have come up. Lonzo Ball, who's been playing really well, the prices have come up. So for game stack purposes, I always say, and I'm going to say it again, I'm always willing to overpay for players if it's in a game stack. But in this particular situation, just picking some one-offs, I think it's Zion, Ingram are my favorites, and then I'd work in Lonzo Balls, Holidays, and Favors, and all those guys after that. But I do like Zion. He was a player that I was getting a pretty good amount of, just with a straight 33-minute projection, considering the pace, and again, a phenomenal matchup. I'm with it. Highest total on the board, so I expect some ownership to be here. I expect people to take some shots here, and I don't blame you for doing it. I know last night that was a similar situation with the Hawks and Grizzlies. That game blew out ridiculously. It was just hideously ugly, and Atlanta sucked. Trae Young sucked, and it's just, the game didn't quite get to where it was supposed to be. But there were guys like Joe Val who pretty much hit value in the limited minutes. Kind of got screwed for the people that did take him. I was kind of underweight, so I wasn't all that upset. But yeah, don't get me wrong. He still returned a solid projection, but he didn't get anywhere near the minutes that I think people were anticipating him to get. So that kind of stuff happens. Looks like Jake Layman is. I didn't even notice Jake Layman was back. I wonder how he fits into this, but that would make sense as to why we've seen some minute reductions, or why we're expecting some minute reductions for some of the other players. Let's go on to the next game, and I'll pop back in the chat. We've got the Los Angeles Clippers visiting the Oklahoma City Thunder. We have a 228 total. That's up 2 points from 226. The Clippers opened up -3. They're up to -5. That's kind of interesting. Let's take a look at the schedules. So the Clippers have had a day off, but Oklahoma City has had 3 days off. So they got 3 days off. That's a lot of time to be off. Nice and rested. Starting with the Clippers side, Lou Williams has been extremely hot. The minutes have been a little inconsistent, but he's been playing extremely well. The issue is if he's not as efficient, then they have other guards they can rotate. They now are pretty deep at the guard position between Reggie Jackson, Patrick Beverley, Landry Shamet. So it does kind of murky up the situation a little bit. Kawhi Leonard, if you could reach him, I think is a fine spend up. But I think I'm more interested in Paul George. It's just a buy low situation. He could burn me, and it's not about the revenge, even though it's there. For me, it's really about buying low on him. He's 6'8" on Fanduel and 7'1" on DraftKings. He just played 30 minutes in his last game. He's been gradually increased each game. So I think he's going to get 30 plus today, as long as this game's competitive, and I expect it to be competitive. So I do like Paul George. I think the price is just too low. After that, you got Pat Beverly for value. The problem is, I think between Lou Williams, Kawhi Leonard, and Paul George, and now the addition of guys like Reggie Jackson and all these guys, I'm not sure that Pat Bev is. I think he's like lower on the scoring charts, even with Marcus Morris. Speaking of Marcus Morris, on FanDuel, his price is extremely low. I do prefer him with an injury. Prefer him with someone else out. His usage is not nearly the same that it was when he was on the Knicks, so just something to keep in mind when analyzing this particular team. On the Oklahoma City side, Gallo is a guy that I think is too cheap on both sites. On DraftKings, I was getting a pretty good amount of him, and I'm comfortable with that. I think Steven Adams, I overprojected his minutes a bit just to reflect the situation. He's played well. I think his last game wasn't so great, but before that, he had a little streak going. He was playing really well, dropping 40s with ease, and this is a nut matchup for him. This is a phenomenal matchup for Steven Adams. 6,200 on DraftKings, 6,300 on FanDuel. I like him a lot. I mean, it's possible that if he slows them down in any way or if he doesn't fit the build, they could go smaller with Noel. So if you want to set a rule of to pick one or alter your projections to raise Noel a little bit and lower Adams a little bit, that's certainly an option on the table. But I do like Steven Adams. I think they stick with him. This is a game that should be really competitive. I think they'll want him on the court, and he should be able to hang with guys like Zubac. I mean, we won't have a problem with guys like Zubac and Montrezl. Chris Paul, an interesting tournament play. Dennis Schroeder's been very disappointing, but his price is always interesting. And then Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I mean, these guys were working with 3 days rest. We could see these starters play more minutes than usual. So I am interested in the OKC side. Gallo and Adams, however, would be my 2 preferred options. And then probably Chris Paul after that, working in Shai Gilgeous and Schroeder if necessary next. But again, I do like Gallo and Steven Adams quite a bit from this team. I'm beat, guys. I'm beat. Exhausted. I go to bed late, I stay up late working on projections. I stay up late working on all kinds of different things. And this dog wakes me up at 6 o'clock. Anywhere from 6 to 6:30 every single morning to take my use of the bathroom, which I'm grateful for. It's a lot better than him just pissing on my floor and everything, so I'm grateful. But I'm trying to adjust, man. He wake me up at 6. Then again at 8, he'll wake me up to go drop a deuce. So the one at 6, the deuce at 8. Of course, he wants his breakfast by that point. Then when I'm already up for the day doing my thing, working, my man just sleeps. The life of a 3-month-old puppy. It's a beautiful thing. Minus the nightmares. The nightmares freak me out. That he has, not me. All right. Let me pop in here. Say hello to you guys real quick. Say hello. Appreciate it, Matt, with the like request. I do. Matt Runyon. Appreciate you, bro. MG, what's up, MG? OG MG. Fade LeBron on 150 lines. I'm thinking about it. That is tough. That is a tough one with that late game. Like, obviously, we'll talk about it when we get there, but that late game is definitely a question mark. A late night hammer all by itself. Philly's been terrible on the road. Plus, they're missing Ben Simmons and Embiid and Josh Richardson. It's a tough situation, but we will get there. I'm still on the fence. It's like I want to force in exposure, but I have to project guys for ridiculous projections in order to make them work. And that's the issue with that one. But we will definitely get there. Favors Ingram and Zion can get him into foul trouble. I agree with the Naz Reid situation, MG. However, just keep in mind that Naz Reid also gets garbage time. So we just got some news on Serge Ibaka. We were waiting on the Toronto news. We didn't get to that game yet. It might be next. Let me take a look. Let's take a look real quick. Yeah, okay. So Van Fleet and Ibaka are both listed as doubtful. So we'll get to that situation in a second, but they're both listed as doubtful. We'll make those adjustments. I wonder if it's next. But yeah, with Naz Reid, that's the one thing. So I'm not saying that you have to play Naz Reid. I'm just saying that maybe you don't want a complete fade. If going underweight, certainly fine. And I'm with you. I fully anticipate him getting in foul trouble, especially against Zion. But in the event that, like, I mean, we saw him in a situation where he got garbage run with 5 fouls, and garbage time is definitely a possibility. Minnesota's pretty bad. So I'm with you, MG. I get it. I think there's a lot of guys at the same price that also project really well. Like, I'm kind of into Harry Giles, so we'll talk about it in a little bit. But I'm with you. I don't disagree with you, MG. OGMG. Just Roll says, I love Chris Paul tonight. He goes all out versus old team. He likes to do Doc dirty. I'm with it, man. I like the lingo. I feel you. I don't disagree with that either. Narrative definitely there. GQ Rock 007 favorite value today. So it was the Golden State guys. I was looking at Dragon Bender. I know. But I was looking at Dragon Bender and some of those guys with Draymond out. But we'll have to get to Toronto and see what the pricing is on some of these guys, because there's probably going to be something there that I want access to. Fox versus Wizards, possible limited. Oh, okay, here we go. Our boy Aaron M. Fox versus Wizards, possible limited minutes because of the strained abs. It is possible, but I think he had the strained abs last game and he played a full 33 minutes. So, Cody Zeller is going to start over Biyombo. They're back to Zeller. How about that? Just like, you never know what's going on. Back to Zeller. Cody Martin will start for Devontae Graham. That one I think we anticipated. Cody Zeller starting ahead of Biyombo. Why? Who knows? They just do what they do. And who knows? Seriously. All right. Let me see what else you guys got. But as far as Fox, Aaron, I do expect him to play. I expect him to play, and I expect him to get his full run. Maybe he gets hurt while he's playing and they lower him, but I don't think he's going to go into it with limited minutes. But it's possible. Your question was, is it possible? It's definitely possible. MG, I feel you. Yeah, MG says, now I like the Suns Raps game more. I certainly do. Aaron, yes, Ibaka is doubtful, and Van Fleet also doubtful. Boom. Appreciate you guys. MG, keeping the nation, true member of the community. OGMG, that's why we call him OGMG, because he's a true WiseTake Nation original gangster. And he's trying to, doing his part to make sure that the rest of the community knows what's going on, knows the deal. I love it. Hit that like button if you haven't already, guys. I see a bunch of you have, and I appreciate it. But keep hitting that like button and encourage others to do it. Share the video, everything. Let's get dirty on this one. Let's get real dirty, because I'm exhausted and I don't give a fuck right now. All right. Let's go to the Toronto. Perfect. Toronto versus the Suns. We were waiting for this news all day, and we figured it would come. I think I even said on the early show that we'll probably get it on this show. Let's get into the totals. We'll make some adjustments. So the total was 223.5, and it was up from 222. Obviously, I expect it to go down with Ibaka and Van Fleet out. The Raptors opened up -4. They're up to -5. I expect that to go down, maybe back down to 4 with the situation, but is what it is. As far as schedule goes, Toronto's had 1 day off. Phoenix has had 2 days off. So both teams are fine from that perspective, for sure. And let's go ahead and get dirty with this one. So let me pull up Toronto on the actual players list on my projections, and let's analyze this. So let's make some changes first. So first of all, OG has been a man possessed. OG's played 40 minutes in two of the games with these guys out. The usage 19.4 against Denver, 15 against Charlotte. But the steals, man, 6 steals against Charlotte, 7 steals against Denver. He is playing a team that can be a little sloppy in Phoenix. The 40 minutes is huge. And so I'm going to actually project him for those 40 minutes and kind of see what happens. Look for that change. We will zero out Ibaka for the time being. Zero out Fred Van Fleet. We're going to assume that Powell starts until we hear otherwise, because he has been starting. You can see OG, even with a 40-minute projection, still has a long way to go, but we're going to raise it. I'm going to do what I have to do to... On Fanduel, he's within reach. DraftKings is where he needs a little extra, I think, so we'll make the moves accordingly. On Fanduel, he looks like an awesome play, though, at 5'7". But again, it's not like he's been just kind of going over his stats just to keep expectation, at a reasonable point. He took 16 shots and made 12 of them, so he was really efficient from the field against Denver. Against Charlotte, he took 12 shots, only made 5. 9 rebounds, 7 rebounds. So it's really the steals that have really put him over the edge for the most part. Just kind of Food for thought. But I actually am going to raise OG on DraftKings to make sure that we do get some. OG. Yeah, we gotta raise you, man. Did I give him too much? Give him a little too much. So again, on Fanduel, I'm not really going to worry too much about the manual increase because I think he already projects fairly well for us there. It's really DraftKings that we needed a little bit of a boost. And the other thing about Fanduel is the steals go even further over there. So maybe we should even give him a little bit. You know what? Maybe what I'll do is give him like a micro boost here. Just give him just a couple points, and I'll just raise him an extra minute. Something a little more natural. Let's see how he's done against Phoenix. I'm curious if he has any history against them. 39 minutes against Phoenix once. 39 minutes and went for 27 DraftKings points. So that wasn't pretty. Again, I don't want to overreact and get too much OG, but I just want to be able to work in some. It's just a pricing thing. On FanDuel, I'm more comfortable with even more. It's really just a pricing issue for me at this point. Let's see what happens here. Yeah. Give him 2. Man, we'll see. I'll leave him here for now at 36.15, and I'll see if I have to raise him to get more. I probably will. Matter of fact, maybe we'll go 2.5. And see, again, I don't want too much because the price, we are kind of overpaying. And again, it wasn't like his usage was massive. He got there 6 and 7 steals. It's extremely variant. I mean, don't get me wrong. He's that's what he does. That's what he's there for. But to rely on that is kind of scary. But either way, we want to make sure we definitely work in something. And on FanDuel, obviously, it's even easier to play him over there. So no issues there with me. Norman Powell, we're going to have to raise up here. Let's see. Norman Powell. Oh, wow. Powell got 40 minutes against Denver, 36 against Charlotte. I think 36.5 is where I want to be. This seems like a really good matchup for a guy like Powell against Phoenix. He hasn't done well in this matchup in the past, but he hasn't really ever gotten an opportunity like he's going to get tonight to play like a ton of minutes. So, yeah, Powell immediately shoots up to around 6x on DraftKings, almost 7x on FanDuel, making him a phenomenal play as well. Let's see. Maybe we don't need that 36.5. Maybe we can leave him at 36, and that should be enough. Powell, phenomenal play on FanDuel at 4,900. And a pretty solid play on DraftKings as well. I do like Powell at 5.7, so I think that makes sense. In terms of his usage has been solid, taking double-digit shot attempts, really stepping into that Van Vliet role. So I'm actually cool with it. In fact, maybe I take a little off the top there. Rondé Hollis-Jefferson's been really just fucking me, man. Just really, really screwing me up. 25 minutes against Denver, 28 against Charlotte. It just hasn't done a whole ton with him. This is a really good matchup for bigs in general, and I do think that DeAndre Ayton, who I already like, his matchup got a lot better. But assuming he does play his 26, 27, whatever he's going to get, I guess we can put him at 27 and kind of see where he goes. 4.6 now, so it's not as cheap as he was. Jason Tatum has officially been ruled out. For anyone wondering? A little too much partying, I would assume. As you can see, RHJ is close. RHJ on FanDuel, 3,800, that's way too cheap. Like, I have no problem loading up on that. The issue is, where do you spend your money after that? That's kind of the problem. The mid-tier build was kind of screaming out earlier. But let me go to Kyle Lowry. Let's see what Lowry's been doing in these situations. Yeah, Lowry's been getting 38 minutes, but we anticipate the usage to be a little bit higher. I'm willing to raise Lowry to around 39.5 or so. Let's see. So we have him. It's going to show up as 40 minutes. I put him in at 39.5. I just want to see where the change. Yeah, that's respectable. On FanDuel, I really like Lowry's price anyway, so I think that's justifiable, right? Did we miss anyone? Siakam will give another half minute too. A really good matchup for Siakam as well. Rondé Hollis-Jefferson. If he did play the 28 minutes that he was supposed to, what would happen? Boucher. How much has Chris Boucher been playing? he's another one that could do some work. 9 minutes against Denver, 16. They're just not really interested in playing him a ton. That's just the truth. So we'll make some other adjustments. I'll finalize it. I just wanted to give you guys a rough estimate of what the situation should look like. Again, I will go back in on the transition when we take our break and kind of redo things and finalize everything. Actually do some research and look things up and see where we're at. But just to give you a rough idea of what these things, of what things are going to look like. Here you go. But again, Siakam definitely should receive a boost with those guys out. So I know he's expensive, but he gets a boost. And there'll be a couple other players that we have to tweak in here regarding their minutes, just to give you a rough idea. This is what we're looking at the moment. But Hollis, Jefferson, and Powell look like awesome plays on FanDuel. Solid plays on DraftKings too, but awesome plays on FanDuel. On the Suns side, Ricky Rubio has been playing really well. I overprojected his minutes on purpose because Kelly Oubre's out, and he's played really well in that scenario without him. And I anticipate if the Suns keep this close, I think Rubio's going to have a little something to do with that. Devin Booker, also an interesting spend up, playing 39 to 40 minutes. Nothing really changed in there. Very cheap on FanDuel at $7,500. 83 on DraftKings is still a decent price, but obviously not as enticing as a 75 on FanDuel. DeAndre Ayton's probably my favorite Sun. At this point, I was getting a good amount of him as is, and the matchup just got even softer with Rondae Hollis Jefferson down low. They're just going to be undersized. They just don't have enough size for DeAndre Ayton today. So assuming Ayton's going to go back to playing his big minutes, I think he's in a really phenomenal smash spot in this particular situation. So let me just check and see where I have Ayton's minutes at. Truly, I think I have him at 38. 38, maybe we'll give him a little 0.25 booster because of the spot. After that, Dario Saric is okay. I just don't see myself picking any of these guys over some of the other options. Like I don't see myself playing Bridges over Powell, even though I do think the ownership will be lower there. I just don't see it. But yeah, maybe I gave him a little too much. I'll lower Ayton back down there. But yeah, this is actually like MG said, I think this game just got a lot more interesting. And obviously the chances of it staying close should be higher. And the Suns working with 2 days rest at home. I'm into it. We'll do another game, and then I'll pop into the chat and touch base with you guys. Golden State Warriors visiting the Denver Nuggets. We have a 218.5 total. Denver opened up minus 15.5. They're up to minus 16 as far as the schedule goes. Both teams working with a day off. This is the third game in 4 nights for Golden State. And once again, Golden State will be without Draymond Green. That's just, I don't see why they even bother playing those guys, but it is what it is. And Curry's expecting to come back. I guess you got to play him a little bit, I guess, right? Tough spot for Golden State, both from a schedule perspective, matchup perspective. It's just a tough spot in general for him. I'm not crazy about Wiggins. We have a lot of other guys at that position that seem more appealing. Eric Paschal on FanDuel, I like a lot at 47. I don't mind him on DraftKings either. Just a little bit easier to play him there. Jordan Poole's okay. I mean, it's not a Dragon Bender's probably my favorite Warrior at this point. I don't mind Marquise Chris, but I'm worried about foul trouble against Jokic. You can make a case for Damian Lee, but I prefer him more if Poole was out. You got this Michael Mulder dude for value if that's something that you want to do. Let's see. He played 31 minutes against Washington. Really didn't do bad at all. He's probably an interesting value play. Against Phoenix, the game before, he got 34 minutes. So he's actually been playing some pretty big minutes. I do think Jordan Poole missed one of those games, so I'm actually going to... Let's look it up in Popcorn Machine and take a look at what that was all about. There's Golden State, Washington, which I believe was their last game. So in this one, this was the game... Oh, Jordan Poole did play. This didn't start. So, okay, so against Washington, it looks like they started Bender, Damian Lee, Andrew Wiggins, Toscano, whatever, Marquise Chris. Yeah, the Mulder dude just played. He played big minutes. He came in before Jordan Poole did, and he got some pretty good minutes there. And I think they're working with pretty much the same people, so maybe he's somebody that we want to give some more minutes to. Let's see. He might be someone that we want to increase. I didn't even notice it. I always check, but he was one player that I must have just kind of glanced over because had I recognized that, I would have questioned it a little harder. But he's really cheap. Really, really cheap. With no Kai Bowman, etc., etc. Let me see. Yeah. Yeah, we're going to raise his minutes up a little bit here. Mulder. First of all, I'm going to lower Poole to around 30. Mulder will put at... Let's put him at like 28 and see what that does. Just going to make a note so I can make some changes about Cody Zeller and Biyombo. All right, so now let's look at this. A little bit. Mulder's still not projecting like great, but looking a little bit better. And if this game gets ugly, it's hard to envision him not getting more run. So maybe we do put him up to 30. I mean, he's really, really cheap. He's small forward eligible on Fanduel, shooting guard eligible on DraftKings. I got him for 30 minutes. He's still not quite getting there, so I don't want to push it too hard, but maybe we'll raise the envelope just a little bit more. But yeah, I mean, like I said, I think Paschal and some of these guys are interesting. Some of the guys they want to actually develop, some of the young guys, maybe Toscano, Anderson, and I actually do like Dragon Bender. Assuming he starts, if Bender doesn't start, I'll lower my exposure. But if Bender does start, I don't see why they wouldn't play him. Like, why not? So I think that makes sense. But some interesting plays here. Just keep in mind they are in a very tough matchup. As you can see, they're thin. They just don't have a ton of players. So I'm cool. I'm cool with playing some Golden State. At least the young guys, which is most of these guys, who you would anticipate to play in a blowout. Right? Still with Mulder. Still not quite there. That's bothering me. Let me look. The usage hasn't been great. Don't get me wrong, but he's just so cheap. You don't need him to do a whole ton. Looks like he's gotten into foul trouble. He's taking 7 threes and 8 threes. I mean, he's got the potential to have a decent day. We will have to see. Just checking on the news to make sure nothing crazy popped up. All right, let's move over to the Denver side. So Paul Millsap's questionable. If he's out, I'll like Jokic more. I'll like the other Golden State guys more. Jamal Murray, for instance, Jeremy Grant. The issue, of course, is the blowout factor. They are playing Golden State, who's really bad. Smash spot for centers. So whether it be Mason Plumlee or Jokic, or if you want to settle for Millsap, assuming that Millsap does play, I'm fine with it. But I don't know how vested I want to get. Obviously, this has a very large spread. I don't think anybody really anticipates. I mean, Denver's a tough place to play as is. It's a 3-4 situation for Denver, for Golden State on the road in a place with altitude. It's tough. Kemba Walker going to be limited 20 to 25 minutes. So Kemba Walker will be limited 20 to 25 minutes. Something to keep in mind. I'm actually going to make that change now. And I'm going to project him for about 28 just to kind of reflect the usage increase. Will Barton, man, I'm waiting for him to kind of wake up and do his thing. His price is really low, so I'm definitely interested in buying low on him. He's just been really bad. If Millsap is out, maybe I'll take more shots with him. But in the meantime, I got to see a little something before I can really trust Will Barton, because his minutes have also been down. But hopefully we get more clarity on the situation. If Millsap does get ruled out, we could potentially look at Michael Porter Jr., especially in a blowout build type scenario. Very high point per minute player. So some stuff, if we got news, it would make things a little more clear, I think. I'm going to pop in the chat. We got 2 games, so I got to speed it up. I got to speed it up a little bit. All right, let's see here. All right, go to the top. Here we go. I could use another. Aaron M says I could use another surprise 65 FanDuel points from OG. I'm with you. I'm sure. Monster Marv. I like that, man. It took. I'm not gonna lie. It took me a couple seconds to I had to spell that shit out. But Monster Marv, I like that name. You see OG smashing again or nah? So, definitely possible. The minutes will be there. I'm confident the minutes will be there. What makes me uncomfortable is that he's been relying on steals to get there. But in 40 minutes against a team that's been known to be sloppy, it's hard to envision him not. Last year, he played 38 minutes against these guys and only went for like 28. That would suck because his prices are elevated. But I'm not going to tell you that I think it's a bad idea. No. Would I play him a ton today? Not a ton, because we have a lot of guys that are fairly priced. But I definitely want some. I don't want him going for 50 or 60 and not having any. That's just a disaster. So he definitely can smash. I'm not saying he will, but he definitely can. Again, not like a core play for me, but definitely a guy I want his exposure to. Shout out to Juice. I know Juice has been on him ever since the injuries. He's been playing him pretty heavily, and he's done well with it. So a guy like Juice, I'd keep playing him because you want to ride the hot streak. Guys like us who maybe like, I don't want to say missed the boat because it's not like we haven't played any, but he has not been in my core, I guess. So for me, I'll ease in because I don't want to buy in so high at this point. But shout out to Juice because I know Juice was big on OG and he's rocking him. On Fanduel, it's been easier to play him. On DraftKings, they've been a little more clever with his prices. Yeah, Aaron says this would be the game OG turns dud. It's definitely possible. Juice, there he is. OG, baby Kawhi. I like baby Kawhi. I love it. Just Roll says if OG kills me tonight, I'll be able to live with it. That's the most important thing. If you're going to take a chance on someone, if you can live with a result that's suboptimal and you can live with it thinking like, nah, process-wise, I did the right thing, then make the move, right? Make the move then. Yeah, Aaron says all those steals and 0 turnovers were key. I agree. Dwayne James, what up, big dog? Appreciate you dropping 7s all day. Appreciate you, Dwayne. MG, don't make fun of Mulder. Look at his G League stats. Hey, I'm not making fun of the dude, bro. I'm not making fun of him at all. I see how many threes he's taking. I'm good with him. I'm trying to raise his projection as much as I can to something reasonable. In fact, MG, especially because I do think this game gets ugly, and then I think he gets even more run than that. So, yeah, I'm not trying to make fun of dude. I may end up. We'll see how much, but I may end up actually playing him. My issue is projecting him something reasonable, so I don't get too much, but I get enough to take some shots on him. That's the big dilemma that that's the big issue I'm having now, kind of slowly creeping up his projections. Aaron says I'm staying away from Golden State, Denver with some much other value across the board. I don't disagree with that take. I think it's fine. I'm gonna play some of these Golden State guys like Dragon Bender if he starts. I'm interested in the in this dude Michael Mulder now. MG's boy. That's your boy, right, MG? It's got to be a boy. I've been talking him up. It better be a boy. Let's see. Aaron M. also says, looking at Theus versus the Nets. I don't mind it. Monster Mar says, I think it's going to be Powell's night. I love Powell. Powell's a guy I want to make sure I get a lot of. We raised his projection accordingly. The minutes have looked good. The shot attempts have looked good. I agree. This is the style game he can excel in against a smaller Phoenix team. So I'm good with that. Appreciate those of you who are just joining us. Please hit that like button if you haven't already. The likes go a long way. They really, really help us out, allow us to continue to do the free content. So if you are here, make sure you're subscribed with notifications bell on. And please like the video, guys. The likes really help us out. Theme of the show, I'll be saying it throughout. Share the video, all that good stuff. I'm with it. All right, we got a couple more games to get to, and I'm running a little behind. We're going to go to Washington against Sacramento. 235.5 total, the second highest total on the slate. As far as, it looks like the Kings are currently favored by 5.5. The Wizards have had a day off, but they play tomorrow. The Kings have had a day off, but they are on the midst of a 4-6. So this is a very game stackable game. The Washington side is a little tougher because now that guys are healthy, they play a little bit deeper, and the rotations could be a little confusing. I'm looking for an opportunity to play Shabazz Napier. My problem with Shabazz is his minutes. Despite the fact, even when he starts, his minutes they don't seem to want to give him enough. And that's really frustrating. 25 minutes in 2 straight games. The usage hasn't been great when he's on there with Beal. He's actually done better in situations where he's come off the bench and he didn't have to share the usage with Beal. But we've also seen some situations where the usage was there, like against Brooklyn. He started that game 24 minutes, 29% usage rate. He just was very inefficient from the field. But I'm always willing to give Napier a shot when he's cheap. Is he cheap enough? That's the question, right? But Bertans, Hachimura, these are all guys that are going to go super low. Thomas Bryant, I would love to play Thomas Bryant in this situation, but I just can't. I mean, the guy's barely playing. 15 minutes against Golden State, 18 minutes against Utah. It's just hard to really see him getting enough minutes to be viable. But if he, for whatever reason, if we thought he was getting even 22 minutes, I'd be willing to play him at those prices. But then there's Beal, right? Bradley Beal doing insane things. I think his ownership would be low because his price has been increased on both sides. The Kings aren't exactly fast, but they're not good at defense. That I can tell you. So I'm fine with Beal as a potential spend up. I'm actually going to give him an extra minute because the way things are now, we're like not even going to come close to getting any of him. Unless there's like more value that opens up. So I'm going to actually raise him to 41 just to kind of see what that does for us. Again, it's not that I want a ton of Beal, but I don't want to ignore him either. He's been on a crazy hot streak that I don't want to ignore. Something to pay attention to. The King side is a little more attractive. I actually like Harry Giles a little bit. This is my own personal take. I projected him for 30 minutes. You're not going to see that anywhere else. I think most people have him projected anywhere from 24 to 26. The reason that I projected him so high, number one, for tournaments, I'm trying to be a little bit different. And he's kind of like the pivot for me off of like a Naz Reid type, I think. That's how I'm kind of looking at it. Let me see. Give me 1 sec. Speaking of Naz Reid, I meant to actually make an adjustment to his projection. But you know what? I'll go back and do that on the transition. Going back to the King. So, all right. So Harry Giles has been starting. So if they start Alex Len, I'll load up on Alex Len instead. But assuming they start Harry Giles, the last time Giles played a game without foul trouble was against Memphis. So against Detroit in the most recent game, he had 4 fouls. That led to Alex Len playing 28 minutes and dominating. Even in 20 minutes, Giles went for 24 DraftKings points. So it wasn't terrible. Against Memphis, he played 30 minutes. Only had 3 fouls, but he got 30 minutes. The game before that against OKC, he had 5 fouls. Game before that against Golden State, 4 fouls. So I think if he doesn't get into foul trouble, I do think he could get upwards of 28 to 30 minutes. And if that's a situation, I think the price is too low. The matchup is phenomenal against Washington, who's just terrible against centers. So he's just a player that I feel like I'm going to take a little bit of a stand on. Power forward eligibility on DraftKings goes a long way. We could see Bielitsa play some 5. He could excel. This is a team that he's played well against in the past. So I do actually like Bielitsa as well as a tournament play. I mean, Washington's one of the best teams in the game to target against. They play so fast. So I actually like the idea of grabbing some Kings. De'Aaron Fox is dealing with a rib cage injury or something like that. He's probable to play. He was probable last time he played. He got 33 minutes. I anticipate the same. If he gets ruled out, we'll obviously be ready to load up on Corey Joseph, who's basically free, and Bogdanovich. But in the meantime, I think Fox is an interesting tournament play. Harrison Barnes is playing massive minutes every single day. This is actually a matchup where he could probably excel a little bit. What else do we got? Alex Len, if you don't like Giles, then maybe you should like Alex Len. Because, again, one of these centers should do really well. Or maybe it's just Bielitsa because he ends up playing a lot of 5. But this is a smash spot for bigs. Alex Len, we know, is a high point per minute average player. I would set a rule. Like I said, I don't mind raising Len's projection if you want to do that. And just setting a rule. Give me Giles or Len. Don't give me both. Because you get the feeling that if one of them ceilings out, the other one probably didn't. So that's kind of where I'm at with that. As far as the other guys, it's really hard to go with Buddy Hield, even at these prices, because his minutes have been so down. I'd be more likely to play Bogdanovich. Not even that I love him, but at least he's getting respectable minutes at this point, which is more than I can say for Buddy Hield. So even though the usage is there for Hield, it's just the minutes really aren't, and that is frustrating. Flat out, it's frustrating. But very game stackable game. I know the pricing doesn't look great on Washington, but if you can figure that out, if you can navigate through that. I mean, if you look at the pricing of, like on Fanduel, for instance, like the Kings as a team, just their prices on Fanduel are crazy low. I mean, in this spot, this is like a nut matchup for any team. So I do like the Sacramento side quite a bit. If Fox was out, then obviously there'd be plenty of usage to go around, everything else. But this is a team I definitely want some exposure to. For sure. Let's just see it. Giles, we got Bielitsa, I think. I did give some love to. Maybe give a little more and see what happens. Yeah, I guess this is just the way things are. So we'll leave it at that. But definitely a game stackable game. The Kings, a very stackable team, even on their own, even without the Washington side, just because of the pricing. A bunch of mid-tier plays. On DraftKings, a little different. On Fanduel, a lot easier. But definitely a spot I want to get exposure to. Last game, we got the Philadelphia 76ers visiting the Los Angeles Lakers. We have a 221 total. The Lakers opened up minus 12.5, and they are currently still at minus 12.5. The Philly's been terrible on the road, and they're missing Ben Simmons and Embiid, two of their best players. So not exactly an ideal situation for those guys. Not exactly an ideal situation at all. On the Philly side, Al Horford and Tobias are expected to soak up a lot of the usage. Their prices on DraftKings have gone up quite a bit. They're still Horford is still within reach. Tobias, you kind of have to go out of your way to get him in. Now, I did give them extended minutes to reflect their usage. I did the same thing with Shake Milton, who I think genuinely will play the minutes. So on FanDuel, Horford, Tobias, and Shake Milton project well for us. On DraftKings, because of their pricing, it's just not nearly as good. I think I'm most likely to play Shake Milton in this particular role, being that they're missing Josh Richardson and Ben Simmons. I do think Shake Milton's going to play a ton, and I don't see why he wouldn't play in a blowout. Alec Burks, I think on DraftKings, it makes a lot of sense to take a shot as a value play. At some point, he's going to have to play. They're missing J. Rich. They're missing too many bodies. That's what he's here for. So I do actually like Alec Burks a lot. And to be honest with you, I think I may be a little conservative with his minutes as well. Now, if this game gets ugly, what do they do with him? But he hasn't really had an opportunity to play. So I would think that maybe, just maybe, he gets that opportunity to play. So I do like Burks on both sites, assuming that he's going to step in. Obviously, Furkan Korkmaz and all these guys are going to get some run as well. But I do expect to see Burks get a decent run, and I expect his usage to be pretty solid when he is on the court. In the most recent game, I think Richardson got hurt in that game, so he played a little bit. But just looking at Burks, he got 25 minutes against the Clippers. 25.3% usage rate, took 13 shots, took 7 threes. Wasn't all that efficient, but I like the fact that how active he was. Went for 28 DraftKings points, and he's only 4-4 on DraftKings. So I actually do feel pretty comfortable loading up on him. He's probably my favorite value play on the slate at the moment. Probably the player I end up with the most of on the day. Again, Furkan Korkmaz, really cheap. You could take shots on Glenn Robinson. There's plenty of guys you could take shots on. But I am tempted to try and find a way to force some Philly guys in, because that could be really low owned. If people on DraftKings are going to stay away from them, if this game does happen to stay close, I know it's a big if, but if this game does happen to stay close, you could get these guys at really low ownership, and they have the upside. I mean, Horford only has to go for 40 and change. That's something that's definitely doable for him. Tobias, we need a lot, but we've seen Tobias go for 50 without an issue. So again, I don't want to necessarily project them through the roof for something ridiculous, but at the same time, I wouldn't mind having some exposure as well. So let's see what happens if I do this. It's fair. We'll see. I'm going to put them, my own personal projections, which are these. I'm going to put them to a point where I'll get some. I'm already there with Shake Milton, but if I can get 20% of all three of those guys, I'd be comfortable with that. I'm going to have a lot of Burks, though. He's the one I'll have a lot of. On the Lakers side, with both guys in, Anthony Davis and LeBron, it's just hard for me to get excited about anyone else. I'm assuming they are. LeBron didn't have a tag, and Anthony Davis, they said, is probable. Anthony Davis is very cheap on DraftKings, so I am actually kind of interested in him there. If this game is ugly, then everybody's screwed, whatever. But if this game, like I said, does happen to stay close, you got some really low ownerships here that I think we could take advantage of. It's just going to be a matter of how much we like the value, or whatever value opens up, or whatever the case may be. But I think Anthony Davis's price is a little too low, right at 9.9. If he's under 10K, it's too low. That's going to do it for us, Nation, for part one. We're going to take a little break here. Bring on Paulie D for part two of the NBA Wise stream. If you haven't hit the like button, please hit that like button. And, we'll be back and do our thing. Toscano Anderson should play 25 minutes, says MG. Definitely possible. G-Rock 007. Think Eubanks is a decent play versus Charlotte, a weak big man? It's possible. It's just hard it's hard for me to tell you, yes, he's a good play when he only got 16 minutes in each of the last two games without their centers there. But I do think that there's some leverage. Like if Lyles doesn't get there, either Eubanks did or Rudy Gay did, right? Not that Rudy Gay is playing center, but Rudy Gay, Lyles, and Eubanks are all kind of rotating in and out for each other. So Lyles and Eubanks are sharing the 3, while Rudy Gay and Lyles are sharing the 4, which is why he's playing. Which is why Lyles is getting so many minutes. Would you stack Powell and RHJ or not? On FanDuel, for sure, I would. On DraftKings, I would. I like Powell more on DraftKings, but on FanDuel, they're both extremely cheap. I would do them both there. Juice, Michael Porter Jr., 10X. If Millsap sits, Yeah. If Millsap's in, it's tough to project, but it is possible. Let's see. We'll see what the status on Millsap. Hit that like button if you haven't already, guys. I will be right back. I'm going to take a little break here, bring on Paulie, make some updates to these projections, and we'll be back with part 2 to drop dirties and take you up to lock and build our teams and go out and win all the money today, because that's what we're here for. So don't go nowhere. We'll be right back with part 2. Hang tight. What up, nation? We are back with part 2 of the NBA Wise Stream. CK013 once again joined by the GOAT, the true OG, Paulie D, who you can find on Twitter at Paulie with 8 Ds. Paulie, what's happening, bro?
What up?
It's Wild West out here, man. Very, very odd slate. I mean, I like it, but I don't like it. You know, I like it, but then I wonder, why do I like it? I don't really know, other than, you know what I mean? Like, why do you like it, Dan? I don't really know. But there's something about it. Like, I feel like something weird is going to happen. Like, something weird is going to win this slate. I'm definitely going to be asking you questions about some of these games that I'm on the fence with, that I'm, like, trying to get exposure to because I'm worried about them, about, like, I don't know. But in general, how do you feel overall about this thing?
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. Like, I feel like I've got all the money in the world and no one of whom I like to spend it on. There's, like, a couple studs that I like, but that's why I think it's like weird. It's like, are you really gonna leave money on the table? It's like, you know, you kind of almost like playing LeBron for like his high floor. It doesn't even matter if he goes like 5x as long as he's like the highest scoring player on the slate. There's a lot in the mid tier. I think a mid tier build is like easy to settle on, but man, there's some really good value that could really pop off today. There's like 10 value plays that, like, you know, are like the epitome of why MME is such like a good thing. Because if you were building like 1 to 5 lineups, I could not recommend any of these players. But in MME, like, I strongly recommend getting like 10% of these guys, because if they get the run and things go their way, they just absolutely pop off, you know. So there's those kind of like, you know, 3K to 4.5K kind of guys, like Thomas Bryant's 3.8, right? Like, this is his 6th game back from this second injury. The first injury where he missed a few months, like, it took 7 games for him to get big minutes. They just moved him in the starting lineup. He's 3.8 going up against Sacramento, doesn't defend bigs. Like, is today the day they go 25 minutes plus on him? If they do, he smashes. He's smashed like 85% of the time. He's gotten 25 minutes at this kind of price tag. You know, there's guys like that all over the slate, but no one really to like gain by taking the risk. So it's interesting in that way to me.
I completely agree. I mean, going back to Thomas Bryant, I was talking about him on the other show earlier, man. Like, I want to like him. But the guy got 15 minutes against the Warriors, 18 against Utah. At some point, they're going to go back to giving him at least 22, 23, at least. And I want to be ahead of it. But like you said, there's other guys in the same exact spot. Cody Zeller is going to start now. He is also like 3,900. We know he's going to get at least 20 minutes. And the last time he played the Spurs, granted he got 30 minutes that game, but the last time he played the Spurs, he went for like, I don't know, 48 DraftKings points. And the Spurs are down to like no centers.
No shot. Yeah. So, yeah.
So it's tough, man. I agree with you, though. I think that there are some, we got to make some decisions, got to do some dirties, but it's tough. And again, for what? What are you going to even play these punts for? We have a lot of guys to spend our money on. Like, what are we doing it for? And like, I'm with you. I'm not totally clear on that aspect yet. On like what studs I even like. There's values like Dragon Bender. There's values in Golden State. That Mulder dude has been playing 30 minutes a game. There's value everywhere. But how reliable is the value? Number one, and number two, what are you using the value for? So with that said, before I even ask you about the studs, mid tier, and all that, I want to ask you about a few games. Like first off, I want you to tell me. Give me 3 of the games that you think you're feeling the best about, I guess, kind of approaching this slate.
Okay. I think obviously Minnesota, New Orleans with like a 250 total. What's not to like there? Toronto, Phoenix, I think is my next favorite. These teams have played some pretty close shootouts over the last 2 years. Both teams are somewhat shorthanded, with Toronto being the road team. I think it stays close. We have a 3.5 spread, and I think we go north of 220 points, knowing who to kind of play. So I like that one. And I guess Charlotte, San Antonio. I mean, it's not a high total, but both teams are so shorthanded. It's like, you gotta like everybody on both sides. So that's probably my number 3.
Yeah, man, I'm in the same boat. Obviously, for me, like the 2 highest total games are interesting, right? They're both attractive. But I can't help but get the feeling, and especially with this value, man, I can't shake this Laker game. I don't want to like it. It doesn't make sense to like it. The Philly has been probably the worst road team, one of the worst road teams in the game. They're missing Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid. They're all the way across the country. Tobias Harris is like 8,200 on DraftKings. Al Horford is 7K. Shake Milton is 6'3". But I can't help but feel like I could see that being a spot where because Tobias can go for 50 like nothing. It's not something he does all the time, but if he was going to do it, it's going to be when Embiid and Simmons most likely are out. And even for Horford, bro, like 40 is not something he could do that with no Embiid, no Simmons. 42, 42 DraftKings points, he can get that. It's just really hard for me to believe that they could even keep this game close enough for that to be a thing. But like I said, maybe it's not that situation, but I can't help but feel like there's something weird going on. We do have a lot of value. We have a lot of studs. We also have a very strong mid-tier. Guys like Naz Reid, guys like Trey Lyles, guys like Norman Powell, OG Anunoby, I'm sure a lot of people will be willing to load up on that. But again, just a strange slate. Just a very, very strange slate. With that, I'm excited for it. It's just strange. Starting lineup is out for the Hornets. Nothing new. Terry Rozier, Cody Martin, Bridges, Washington, Zeller, as we expected. All right. With that said, Paulie, I guess we'll go ahead and start talking about some of these studs. I know that like you probably haven't made up your mind on the studs just yet. I know I haven't. So let's kind of talk it out. Talk to me about some of the studs you're considering. Who are you leaning towards now?
Stud wise, D'Angelo Russell's probably my favorite. I'd rather him be a tad cheaper, but it is what it is. After that, I got a neighbor here. It is what do you call it? It is DeAndre Ayton, absolute smash spot against Toronto, missing a couple of their bigs, and LeBron. Just because you'll have the money. Those are the 3.
I agree. It's tough. I mean, and that's the thing. Like even like guys like Anthony Davis, like he's so cheap. He's 9.9 today, but at the end of the day, it's just like you don't need him to be cheap today. Today's the day where he would have given you an excuse to just spend a ridiculous part of your salary on. But it's not the world we live in. Talk to me about the mid tier.
All right, Miles Bridges. That's the number 1 play in the mid tier for me. Everybody's running to Terry Rozier, and I'm going to be getting me some Miles Miles Bridges, yeah. Love what the kid's been doing since the rookie sophomore game. See this? You see what's happening here? Hi.
Fair enough. What's going on?
Yeah, that's my neighbor in Body Shop.
He's got a facial.
Nice. Facial life.
For free.
Oh, free?
Oh,
For free,
shit.
yeah.
Nice.
Oh, shit. For free.
Yes.
That's the best kind of free. For free.
The WiseTake Nation, they're out there.
Hey, WiseTake.
The millions.
The millions and millions.
But I'm cool with Terry Rozier also. I like everybody on New Orleans. Lonzo Ball, Drew Holiday, Ingram. I love Zion today. Smash spot against Minnesota. Malik Beasley, I like quite a bit. Guards against New Orleans have been good lately. Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, I just have like a feeling, little revenge spot against the Clippers. I just think OKC keeps it close at home. Really into Jamal Murray. Like the discounted price, like the shot volume lately. If De'Aaron Fox gets ruled out, then like you can give me some Bielitsa. I'm cool with Harry Giles. And then Ricky Rubio, guys like that from Phoenix. Devin Booker, if you call him mid-tier, I like as well. Shake Milton, too. Can't ignore that.
Where you at with Lyles, bro?
Can't ignore the minutes. I'm good with Lyles. I like him, too.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
I like Tim Murray as well. You know, it's pretty loaded in the mid-tier.
that's what I mean. The mid-tier is really loaded. And, like, the value that we have, I'm not so sure. Like you said, there's nobody to spend up for. So I'm not so sure that I want to completely bail on this strong-ass mid-tier that we have with Norman Powell, all these other guys, to go and play some value players just to get some, just to get studs that I'm not even that interested in. So in a weird place on this slate mentally. Talk to me about the value sign. It's like a freaka.
So we got a lot in Philly. Alex Burks has gone for like 35 plus, like 13 times this year. At his price, like that would be glorious. And this is like the most optimal like situation for him to get enough minutes to do that. Right? They could get blown out, he can get the blowout run, or he could be the big reason why like they keep it close. Cody Zeller now is probably one of the better value plays out there. Starting against a team with no size, going to get minimum of 20 minutes. Also like Naz Reid is a cheap big. Where else? Oh, Golden State's loaded with value. A Dragon Bender, right? Like Dragon Bender. I can't believe how much I like Dragon Bender, but getting that many minutes, as long as he doesn't get into like foul trouble, I'm into that. Millsap is a big one. Like I don't really want to play Millsap, although he's cheap. I just don't think that they'll need to play him big minutes. But if he's ruled out, then you got Jeremy Grant and Michael Porter Jr. That would be, extremely viable. All right. See you later. Very soft. Shabazz Napier, like Washington's loaded with him too. Thomas Bryant, Shabazz Napier. I'm just into both by a lot. Especially Shabazz. I think this could be like a really sneaky Shabazz spot where like everyone in the industry is just jumping on Brad Beal. Like we've been on that for a week now. Shabazz didn't come in at like 3% owned, and I could see him getting a ton of run and doing really well. Who else? I'll go back to some Rudy Gay. I think you got to play some Cody Martin as well from Charlotte. I think those are the main ones. You like this Michael Mulder kid out of Golden State?
I kind of do, man. Like, I didn't really before because I didn't notice he was playing 30 minutes a game, but we talked about it on the game by game, and I discovered it. I know MG was talking about him in the chat. Another G League, another G League dude that performed. But, I mean, the guy's getting 30-something minutes a game. He's taking, like, 6-7 threes a game. He hasn't even had an efficient day, and he's still going for decent scores.
Yeah. Yeah, and, like, the threes. That's what I noticed too. Like anyone that's shooting a lot of threes, like when they get hot, can go like off. We've seen like Duncan Robinson do it a few times. Like, the NBA is now just like the game of 3-pointers. So anyone that's shooting a lot of them, for cheap, you got to take a shot on.
I agree. On DraftKings, at least, right? Like on Fanduel. I mean, on Fanduel it's fine too. You're still getting 3 points. Let's not act like you don't get anything. But on DraftKings, especially, that little extra half a point, that shit adds up, man. You hit a few of them things, that thing adds up, long dick style, as Tyrone would say. Oh man, there's so much mids here that I like. So let me ask you, what are you gonna do with this Philly game? Are you ignoring it? I mean, this is like supposed to be a marquee team. Like what is your plan? How are you gonna attack that one?
I mean, yeah, they're a marquee team, but they're down like, four of their best players. They're terrible on the road, as you mentioned. Like, hard to see them staying close, but I'm not that convinced the Lakers are even that good either. Like their record is way better than what they actually are. I wouldn't be shocked if they played down to their competition. LeBron's probably due for a letdown game after that smash spot. I'm going to have a couple stacks of it, just because like Philly's so shorthanded and you use that to get LeBron, and you can even get 8D with the value there. Although I would probably want to grab like one of Tobias Harris, one spend up from Philly. So, I mean, Al Horford's fine, but I'd choose Tobias over him every time.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Yeah, but yeah, I wouldn't ignore that game. Late night hammer. Lakers have been playing really fast, so I wouldn't ignore it.
Yeah, it's tough, man. And then it's a matter of like how much. It's funny because like just to like go over, there are some players like Alec Burks and Norman Powell, Lyles, Zion. I'm actually getting a lot of Zion. But there are like those 4 players are players that I'm getting like a substantial ownership of. After that, even with the projection, everything's coming out somewhat spread out because there's a lot of things that are even. There's just a lot that's just like, oh, that's a great mid-tier play. Oh, this is a great mid-tier play. But it does look like majority of my builds are going to be balanced. And, that always makes me want to reach up. Even with, like, right now I'm looking at, like, 30% Dragon Bender. It's just the way it's working. It's just what I'm getting. So, I guess talk to me about some of the teams that, like, or some of the guys that you don't have a lot of that you're a little worried about, if any.
Okay. It's probably Boston, Brooklyn, although I'm, like, not that worried about it. Like Brooklyn's been like super slow, playing very good defense of late, and like that, Boston's like mid-tier fast, very good defensively. They don't turn the ball over much. Like, but Boston's short. Like no Tatum is a big deal, and I'm not gonna have a lot of them. And it seems like I actually need to increase my Daniel Theis and Gordon Hayward shares as I'm saying this to you, because like who else is going to do it? And this game probably stays close.
I agree. I agree. Kemba Walker limited to 28, like at a cap of like what did they say, 22 to 26 or something. Like he's going to be capped. So somebody's got to finish this game. I agree. Jaylen Brown, I do have a good amount of ownership. I'm actually in the process of trying to get more Theis and Hayward as well. It's hard, bro, because like. You have to overspend for these guys. Like Tobias Harris, Gordon Hayward, like you're overspending. Like it's just at the end of the day when there's an injury in the matchup and, the way the slate is going, you got to do what you got to do. So it's like, that's what I mean. Like, would you rather I like Tobias in his spot more than I like LeBron James in his spot, right? LeBron James has AD back. They're all healthy. There's nothing there. Tobias is at least getting a massive usage increase. The problem is paying 11.4 for LeBron is not an overspend. That's where he should be. He should be priced up like that. Paying 8.2 for Tobias is an overspend, even with the situation we're in. So I feel like I'm being like pushed to do things that make me uncomfortable. But at the end of the day, like I'm hoping that those things that we do to be uncomfortable make us different and take it down with some low ownership action. That's the only way I can. I don't even know how else to really put it.
I mean, I'm going to be doing some like 5-man game stacks that I'm just forcing into Cruncher or Roto Grinders, whichever one you're using. Like, I like the idea of like forcing it to at least give you one from the other team. So like only allowing 4 from one team, but forcing in a 5-man stack and like hoping you catch a double overtime game or just like some of the higher total games kind of dud out. And, one of those like, San Antonio Charlotte games, you have a 5-man stack, everybody's cheap, and you have the one or two like best studs on the slate with it. That works out.
And that's what you call doing it dirty. I'm going to pop in a second and answer some questions. Hopefully the YouTube Nation has some questions for us, because I think that this slate is all about perspective and how you view things and what chances. You're going to have to take a chance, I think. It's just about what chances that you take. Like for instance, we're talking about ownership. I know earlier today, DeMar DeRozan was projecting to be like really popular on DraftKings. I've been really disappointed with his usage rates, even without LaMarcus Aldridge. What are your thoughts on a player like him, DeMar DeRozan?
Yeah, he was terrible yesterday. Ruined a lot of people's lives.
Lives were ruined.
But he's all right. I don't see why he wouldn't bounce back. I mean, they're not going to offer any resistance whatsoever at all. So it's a good get-right spot for him. He's not projecting to be popular all of a sudden.
Oh, yeah. He was projected to be chalk all day today.
But now he's not.
No, he is. He is. That's why that's why I was asking, like, what you're doing with a player like that who's going to be very popular. Because I'm with you. It's definitely a good bounce back spot. Obviously, that game's the first game going. It's the only one locking at 7. We understand why you got Spencer Dinwiddie, who's done dirties to Boston over his career at similar pricing. So, just in general, there's so many pivots, and this is I've been really disappointed with DeRozan's usage, but at the same time, because it is a good bounce back spot, because he is going to see very little resistance, I find myself reluctant to feel too comfortable not playing. You know what I'm saying? Like not playing him. So that's why I just wanted your opinion to see which dirty you were approaching it with. You're going to get dirty one way or another. You're going to do it then. You're going to do it big.
Yeah.
That's it.
What I really like is Zion today.
I love Zion. I have a lot of Zion. Yeah. Yeah, I love Zion.
Yeah. Okay. As long as that's all I need to hear.
I like Zion. I like Zion for sure. Maybe I said it too many times. I dislike Zion. I got to put some balance back in the earth. You know how that goes. After saying it, I'm like, hold up. I know how this works. Reverse jinx in action right now. I'm getting some funky. Did I just? Oh, I think I know what I did. Or did I? Maybe I didn't do that. No, I didn't do that. Okay. Well, my projections all of a sudden are giving me something totally different than what it was giving me before. What did I do? What
are you at with Jokic?
Man, if Millsap is out, I'll try to force some in, because this is a fucking smash spot for him. But if Millsap is in, I just, like you said, I just have such a hard time seeing Golden State stay anywhere close. And Malone, he's not playing his dudes in a blowout. He's not. You know what I mean? Like he'll fucking let some fans play before he fucking runs his guys out there in that garbage time. You know what I mean? So that's kind of the dilemma that I was dealing with before. But yeah, okay. So this is real. I'm gonna have to make an adjustment. This is real. Oh no, okay. I must have did something wrong before, because now it's giving me what I wanted. Do you like Cody Zeller?
Yes, a lot.
Yeah, me too. How much though? Like how much?
Like 40 to 60.
I know. That's what I'm afraid of. I think I'm gonna do it too. And he's definitely gonna get pulled somewhat early and fuck me. But this is such a good spot, and he's so cheap. So cheap. Ugh.
Dick is cheap.
Yeah, it is. At this point, it is pretty cheap. It don't cost much. I can't disagree with you on that one. 34 points.
Which net center do you like, if any?
I think I'm gonna stay away from them. I think I would lean towards Allen, because they're not super big, so I think it's a matchup where Allen could kind of thrive. But I'm probably just I'm not gonna get too crazy with those guys, just because they're a bunch of dicks. Well, they're coaches. Their coach is just a big dickhead. That's the main reason. But I don't know. But if I had to pick one, if I didn't have a choice, that it would be Allen. Because I just don't see in what world would they need DeAndre Jordan in this matchup? You know what I mean?
Somebody's out for New Orleans, right? That makes JJ Redick, right?
Yeah.
Josh, maybe you want to increase a little bit at 45. Maybe he at 4,500. Maybe he has one of those 30-point games, 30 and change.
Who?
Josh Hart.
Oh, Josh Hart. Yeah, I thought about that, except for the fact that Redick's been out for a little bit now, and Josh Hart still isn't getting more minutes. So I don't know why they're doing that. But he's not getting a ton of minutes, even with JJ Redick out. He could today. Not saying that he can't today, but I definitely am a little concerned. Like, why? I don't understand why they're doing that, but is what it is, ain't what it ain't, I guess. Yeah.
18 minutes to lock.
Bro, this slate is crazy. Like, you make one minor adjustment and it shifts everything. Like, all of a sudden it's like you're getting totally different players. Like, I adjust one player and all of a sudden it made the world of difference in who else I'm getting. It's wild. I think I had Tobias projected a little too high and that messed me up. But that's all I did was raise his projection just by a little bit, half a point. And it went from giving me 10% to bias to 30%, and then just completely changed on my exposures. It went from giving me 30% bender to 5% bender. Just wildness. That's how tight I feel the margins are today.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on OG, man? He obviously has been balling, but he's been relying heavily on steals. But it's playing Phoenix, so he could easily get those again.
I mean, you take 4 steals away from a 60, it's still a 48 at his price. You'll do that.
Gladly,
so.
yeah.
I don't know. I hate jumping on stuff late. I caught the first one. I didn't catch yesterday's or 2 days ago's. I don't know. I'm probably not going to go there. But I totally understand why you would.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat.
I might have 5% or something like that, but that's about it.
The same boat. It's I get it, but I don't love it.
How do you rank the studs?
How do I rank the studs?
Who's your top 3 studs?
I guess DeAndre Ayton I do like a ton. I genuinely like him. Oh man, as of right now, let's look at who do I actually have. I feel I'm so balanced. I have. It looks like I have a lot of. I got 25% Anthony Davis. He's the most expensive player that's up there right now. And I don't even feel great about that. That's just how it fell. I guess there was nobody else to play. You know what I mean? That wasn't even an intentional thing. I'm with you. I don't love the studs. I really don't. That's why I'm going so balanced. And that's why I'm so reluctant to jump on some of the mid-tier stuff. Because I'm just not thrilled about it. But I guess...
Do you think...
Who?
Do you think AD plays today?
Yeah, I mean, they said he was probable. So he's the one that I have the most of right now. But
the most, oh, really?
But it's only 20. It's I'm talking 25%. You know what I mean? I just don't have a lot of studs.
Right. Yeah.
That's just the truth. I mean, Ayton is the stud if you want to consider him a stud. Even he's the stud I have the most of at 32%. Other than that, right now, my highest exposed players are Alec Burks, Norman Powell, Cody Zeller, Trey Lyles, Zion Williamson.
Mm-hmm.
That's my highest. It's mid-tier city for me. Big titty mid-tier city. You know what I mean?
Yeah. What about Brad Beal?
Oh, he's somebody that I don't have, and I even on the show, with the nation with me, I mentioned I'm gonna put his projection a little higher just to make sure we get some, and I'm glad you mentioned that because I just realized I'm still not getting none. Why not? We got no other stuff to pay for. Fuck it. Why not work in some Bradley Beal?
Gordon Hayward or Jaylen Brown?
I've got more Jaylen Brown right now. Too much. 41 points, yeah.
What about Shake Milton? How much Milton you shaking?
Right.
Is he going to keep shooting 8%?
Shit, probably not. But if this game stays close, then he probably has a big game with those guys.
Yeah. Marcus Smart, 7,300. I can't even.
Bro, I know. They priced him to a point that it was just kind of it was tough. Real tough.
Yeah.
You want some, but it's damn, man. Like I said, you're gonna have to do something a little uncomfortable. You know what I mean? You're gonna have to. You got to play somebody with all this value, so you're gonna be playing someone that you feel like you're overpaying for. But what else? What else are you gonna do? 7-3-2. What you gonna do? You know how we do.
Mm-hmm. All day.
All day. All day. All day straight tripping. 13 minutes to lock, nation. We gotta figure this out. Strong dick style. Cheat sheets, projections. I'm updating as we go. I don't think the cheat sheets are gonna change too much. We will see. I'm trying to see what. It's so funny how balanced everything is becoming. Like it's just like, it's cool. It's kind of cool. Like I don't, you know me. I've had slates where I've been like 80% of these three guys, and that's not the case today. It's like more like 60, 50, 40, and then a bunch of 30s and a bunch of 20s. It's more spread out in general, and that's not like I'm not capping nothing. That's just how it's coming because I really do believe that's how close the field is right now. Like it's like, I think the margins are pretty thin as far as I'm concerned. 30s and 7s, thug life, everything. You know what I mean? You know?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
What's like your highest exposed value plays, like under 5K?
Number one is Alec Burks. Under 5K. Then I think Cody Zeller. And then I'm so balanced that my next value play is holy shit. Bro, I have 11% bender, and we haven't projected for 6x. Like, we haven't projected, like, awesome. It's just, because I have the studs projected, I guess, low, it just figures we don't need them, and it's jamming me with a bunch of mid-tier. You know what? To answer that question of going back to the studs, I would be willing to take a shot on D'Angelo Russell. I've only got, like, 12% of him because I am so balanced, but I don't mind taking a shot on him. If I'm going to overpay, why not do it in a game where, like, if that game stays close, it's got to be D'Lo. Like, D'Lo can't have a bad game and that game stay close, right? I mean, obviously he could, but you know what I mean? Like, I just think it's unlikely.
Is Zeller? Oh, never mind. There it's 39. I'm like, how am I not getting it? When I updated our projections, we had him at a 0.
Yeah, at that time. But that was, that they fucking dropped the bombshell on me while I was on the stream. I was like, what? Yeah. So I had to wait for the transition to update him, but it's updated now. I'm looking at about 44% Zeller right now.
Yeah.
44. 4 years ago.
11 minutes till Lock Nation.
I ain't gonna mess around. I'm gonna put a CSV up now. Right now. So it's not, you know what I mean? Like, there's too many times we've been in that position. This is, you can't keep calling it rookie mistakes when you're not a rookie. It's like, you know what I mean? Like, the rookie mistake, bro. You guys ain't rookies. You've been doing this for 3-4 fucking years already. Like, true. Take your licks like a man.
Yeah.
Take your licks like a man, though. Mandate that shit. Alright.
Man licks
all day. It sucks because, like, the reason I'm constantly making these changes and, like, looking because, like, I'm not sure what all 100% I like. So I'm trying to see, like, show me some lineups, show me some exposures, and I'll tell you if I like it or not. Until then, I keep making these changes, just hoping and praying that, like, oh yeah, I'll like something at some point. It's not that I don't like anything. It's like it's that I like a little too much, and I think that's really my issue. Like, you're right, exactly. That's kind of the issue. Like I said, even with Dragon Bender, man, like I had 30% at one time. I didn't touch his projection, and now I have 11. It's just it's just a crazy world we live in. What could I say? It's crazy world we live in. All right, I'm popping in the chat. We got 10 minutes. All right, I'm popping in the chat, nation. Let's go. I'm gonna try to rapid fire these. Try to rapid fire these. I just gotta find where the hell we left off. Eubank starting again. All right, here we go. Our boy Abra says getting to any bog or healed.
Not really.
Yeah, I love that game for a game stack. I'm surprised I didn't get there. There's just too many guys that look good, but the ownership's going to be low. Healed is the one I'm worried about, man. They're only giving him like 25, 26 minutes. Don't even make no sense to me. But yeah, I thought I was going to get more, and I really didn't get a ton of them. So, Tori J, I'm stuck on Jokic, or should I pay down for Zion?
Stuck on Jokic. Zion. Play Zion.
I know we both like Zion today a lot. Boucher with no Ibaka or RHJ. Wait, is RHJ out? RHJ is not out, right?
I'm back. Who? No,
Yeah, no,
I don't think
yeah,
so.
okay. Boucher with no Ibaka. Oh, my bad. Jameis, my bad. I read your question wrong. Boucher with no Ibaka or RHJ?
I'd say RHJ.
Yeah, if I have to pick one, I would. But I like Zeller more than both at this point. John Cotter, FanDuel here. Brown and Hayward, both small forward in the same lineup. Okay, so Brown and Hayward are like both in the 6K range on FanDuel. They're both small forwards, so you'd be investing both of your small forward positions to them. Are you cool with that on FanDuel? Yeah, I'm fine with it, especially in a game stack. How would y'all approach this slate on FanDuel building one lineup? Building one team, trying to get different, right? Like, don't be afraid to play good chalk, but you don't want to be too chalky either. FanDuel ownership, Gordon Hayward and Jaylen Brown are projected to be very popular over there, both around 50% on FanDuel because of the pricing. So, for the gentleman who asked about playing them together on FanDuel, that looks like it's going to be a pretty popular way to go. But yeah, I mean, what would you say? To me, it's try to get a little different, you know? That's all I could really say. Like, you don't got to do something crazy, but like Tobias is easier to play. Tobias is 7'3" over there, much easier to play. Horford is like 6'2", much easier to play. What else do we got here? Our boy Nick, you got the 76er starting lineup. No, we don't got the 76er starting lineup yet.
Like last game of the game.
Yeah, yep. Nick says, do you think Burks will get a big boost with Josh out? I would think they finally have to.
Yeah.
Right?
If not him, then Cortez.
Yeah, and they realistically, they're both cheap. They could both do well today, and they both get minutes. But Burks got 25 minutes for the first. That was the most he's played with the Sixers, and that was with Jay Rich playing in the first half. So with Jay Rich out now, like I would think they're going to have to between him. I mean, I would be stunned if Burks didn't get at least 27, 28 minutes today. And I would anticipate him getting more. I would expect more, to be honest. Let me see. Thoughts on Trey Lyles? This is from our boy, You're a Killer. Oh, I like that.
Yeah, I mean, you can't ignore the minutes. They got no bigs. They got to play him a lot. He's been playing awesome.
Urugu Killer.
That's all I got to say about that.
Agreed. Best value for under 3,900 on DraftKings. Bender or Zeller? To continue that question.
Zeller.
Yeah, I prefer Zeller. Top 2 Celtics plays from Marco.
Hayward, Brown.
Agreed. Austin Jensen, Siakam or Harris at small forward? I'm assuming that's a FanDuel question because Siakam is small forward over there. Tobias Harris is 7'3" on FanDuel. That I know. I just want to check Siakam's price for you before you answer that question. So Tobias is 7'3", Siakam is 8'2".
Say that again.
Tobias is 7'3", Siakam is 8'2". This is a FanDuel question. Small forward, they're both small forward. Which one would you prefer? 7'3" Tobias or an 8'2" Siakam?
Tobias.
Yeah, I agree. How's Monte Morris and Porter ownership looking? Right now, they're both going to be very low. Monte Morris will be low regardless, unless there's some crazy injury. As far as Porter goes, Porter's been having a hard time getting minutes unless Millsap is out. So that's all dependent on Millsap. But as of now, I think they're both going to be very low owned. I don't see why anybody would play them. I don't think the public is really looking to play them too much right now. If Millsap gets ruled out, then Porter's ownership may rise. But even then, I don't think it's going to be crazy because we have too many other spots. Merkamil says, I want to play Zeller, but I think he will get pulled for no reason and only play 15 minutes or so. It's possible. I think he gets at least 20, but it's definitely possible.
Definitely possible, but like, why would they move him into the starting lineup today?
Agreed. Thoughts on Ayton? We both like Ayton a lot.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's a simple one. And then Des Thomas, all caps, Jaylen Brown. I'm with you. I like Jaylen Brown too. I got some exposure to Jaylen. I got some. Yep, the exposure's looking a little different from how I left them off this morning. Like, it's pretty crazy. Oh, start your day one way, next thing you know, you're sitting here with a shit ton of Alec Burks, wondering what happened with my life. How did I end up in this position? Cody Zeller, a guy goes from not even expected to play, he hasn't been in the rotation, to all of a sudden I've got 44%. That is NBA DFS for you right there. That is NBA DFS for you right there. We've got about 3 minutes to Lock Nation, so, do what you do. Make the choices wisely. Get dirty, get busy. Drop sevens, all the good stuff. Let me see if there's any other things. Popping off. Nothing in the Y stream chat. Shout out to those of you. I see some of y'all. LD, Wig, Wisco, T Cameron, CDs 43S. I see y'all in the Y stream chat. Got an eye on y'all. Trying to pay attention. Any Millsap news? Not yet. Des Thomas, how y'all feel about Zion? We both like Zion, right? Like that was a guy we definitely talked about. So I'm with you, Des. If you like him, I think we're cool with him. Minnesota's been the nut worst against bigs ever since Cat's gone out and they made these changes. They've been just awful against bigs. Obviously, that bodes well for Derek Favors as well, but I think Zion is the one that we're expecting to play more minutes at the 5, or just more minutes in general, and also get some minutes at the 5. We got 2 minutes to Lock Nation. Please hit that like button. With that said, the likes really, I said lock button. I meant like button. Hit the like button. The likes really help us out. They go a long way, allow us to continue to do free content. So please hit the like button. Like I said, do dirties with us, and we appreciate you. It'll keep us rolling up in that thing, boy. We're gonna close this show out very shortly. Just gonna wait, barring anything crazy popping up, opening. It's funny because I've done 2 shows already, and with game by games with you guys, and my exposures now look a little different. Again, if you want access to our projections, they are available for download at WiseTake.com. If you're a WiseTake Nation member, I update them all the way up. I'm still updating them to this point. Well, I haven't made any changes in the last 5 minutes, but. So get the latest. It's up there. The same projections I use. You can go do dirties. Use the Fantasy Cruncher or use Lineup HQ from Roto Grinders, whatever optimizer you want to use. You can upload them into there, and you'll have a little WiseTake Nation flavor on your teams. For those of you doing MME, and we I think Paulie and I both recommend doing that MME LD style, if you will, for a Tyrone.
All day.
Tyrone in it. You like Steven Adams? I actually have 30% of him, and I didn't realize I did.
yeah, definitely. I mean, I don't love what they've been doing in his minutes lately, but yeah.
But the spot, right? He could just do work here. He could do work.
Yep.
He could do work. He could do dirties like it's his job. We are at Lock Nation. That is going to do it for today's show. A little while. Tomorrow we have a change of pace. I think it's like a 4-game slate tomorrow. Wait, there's no. Thursday's a 4-game slate. Tomorrow we have a big slate. My bad. Tomorrow, yeah, we got a big slate tomorrow. Wizards and Trailblazers tomorrow. Holla. Pelicans and Mavericks. Bulls and Timberwolves. Grizzlies and Nets. We got some good games tomorrow. A lot of back-to-backs from what I see. But if you watch the first part of the show, you know that because we went over the schedule notes. That's going to do it, Nation. Hit the like button on your way out. We appreciate you. We'll join you. We'll be back tomorrow with more. For Paulie D, for myself, the entire WiseTake Nation, as always, good luck.